Hi, my name's Kate Benson and I'm here at the Old Bakery Cottage in Millthorpe with the Old Bakery from the 1890s here beside me. So I purchased the cottage and the Old Bakery a couple of years ago during COVID. I'm from Sydney, but I'd started working here in Orange, and I purchased the cottage back then. So I'm a doctor. I work in endocrinology, so I look after people with diabetes and other endocrine conditions. I was previously working at a city teaching hospital, but during COVID I really wanted to change, and I started working out in Orange. There was a shortage of endocrinologists, and so I set up practice here. I come out here every couple of weeks and work. I also do work in the far west. I go out to Burke and Brewarrina. And I really love the rural aspect of my practice now. And because I loved it so much, I decided I wanted to have a base here in the Central West, and that was a big part of my decision to purchase the Old Bakery Cottage. The minute I stepped foot on the property, I fell in love with it. I was drawn to the charm and character of both the cottage and the bakery. So the bakery is a historic building in pretty much original condition, dating back to the 1890s. And in that era, it was the town bakery, and it provided the bread for the town of Millthorpe. So it's a pretty special place. I've set it up with a lot of old homewares, many of which I've acquired at auctions and antique shops. And it's been set up as a dining space for up to 10 people. But I'm also looking at collecting antiques and opening an antiques enterprise out of the Old Bakery, because it's a perfect setting for that. The back garden's absolutely beautiful. It's an English cottage style garden, and I often think of the Percy Grainger song in an English country garden, and I'm very much reminded of that song. There's original bluestone in the backyard. There's a paved terrace area with a vintage style table and chair setting where you can relax, have a cup of tea or a drink as the sun sets. The bird song is beautiful. There are lovely iceberg roses which captivate your attention, and it's just a lovely space, and I call it my happy place. And I think that it's a very nurturing, restorative place to be. The cottage had a major overhaul, I think, in about 2014, and that was Linda and John Oxman from the town did that, and I purchased the property from them. And I've really enjoyed decorating it, and I've set it up as a lovely space, and it's available for short-term rental, and I also stay in it when I come to town to work.
I'm David Toy, and this is my wife Susan. We're here on our property Treelands, which is in Millthorpe. Bought this property in the year 2000, but we didn't live here until 2005. We started this garden around about 2005 or 6. So all the things, most of what you see as a garden was a paddock. Well, one of my ambitions is to acquire 100 different trees, not numbers of trees, to plant all around the place. So at the minute I've got 52 different varieties of trees. But we do have other plants here that are quite hard to come by, partly because I was in the nursery industry most of my life. I guess I've figured out how to acquire such plants. The altitude on this property is 945 metres, so it's quite a cool climate. It doesn't get very hot, so all the cold climate type things will do very well here. All of the cold climate maples, birches, elms, those bigger trees will do very well here. Hellebores, deciduous azaleas, do all right here. Things that can't survive a frost are not going to do very well.
This driveway was here because it went through the paddock across to the sheds. And so we've just sectioned it off, as it were, with an outer garden and an inner garden in this section.
A rock wall, which is a bit like an Edna Walling garden, I guess, is derived from stone that came off this property. And we just had to go around with the tractor, fortunately we've got a tractor, and collect stone that was suitable, which took many weeks on and off to do.
Over here we've got a birch grove which is underplanted with all sorts of different species. There's a lot of hellebores which are in flower at the moment, other things like agapanthus which come out in summer, hydrangeas, and the idea there is just to have a relaxing area where we can sit. There's a fire pit and seating, and the children love running around in there because they call it a maze. Not a lot done around the house because that's my domain and I'm not the gardener. I just appreciate it. But we have started to work on it, and we're trying to put in plants that will last and be low maintenance and get a little bit of colour around the house. So under the trees we've planted with azaleas, rhodos, hydrangeas, we've got iceberg roses and a whole lot of little daisies which hopefully will flower all through spring and summer.
Good afternoon. My name's George Costaglou and my wife Jennifer. We're here at Ellaroo, our residence, which is just on the edge of Millthorpe. We've been here since 1997, so just going on to 25 years. We're on 65 acres. When we did move here, we designed the house and built it, finished it in the year 2000. And then soon after we started the garden.
It was a blank canvas, so when we bought the place, it was an old dairy farm. And I remember my dad said, the soil's so fertile you can grow babies here. And we laughed, because I think it's a farmer's saying, but actually he wasn't far wrong because this was totally blank. So we got a good friend of ours who's an architect who designed, a landscape architect who designed the garden, and it's evolved. I mean, this wasn't the original drawings. Because we have 4 children who've all left home and all live around the world, or 2 in Sydney. So coming together, they love coming home. This is their haven. They love coming home. So it's, the garden's beautiful, but it's probably the entertaining areas. So the fire pit area, and then up on the deck, we sit a lot, or at the front deck. So it was really important to us to have all these little nooks where we could just sit with the kids, have a drink in the afternoon, which would usually escalate to a fire pit and a lot of dancing. So that for us is the most important. I mean, the flowers and the garden is magnificent, but having these little areas and with friends that we can come and sit and, and have an afternoon.
Enjoy it. That's our water tank below the gazebo, and then
concrete water.
It's a concrete water tank, and I've seen similar structures around. So about 15 years ago, we thought, well, why not utilise that spare bit of concrete? So we decided to put a structure up, and we don't use it as much as we'd like to.
Or we used to.
But the main reason is that we've got a conservatory in the house where it's a lot closer to everything.
It's great because wherever you sit, whatever chair, deck or here or the gazebo, it's a different view of the garden. So it's really lovely to have all these little areas that you can go, oh, that's really beautiful. Or it's a bit breezy at Millthorpe. It's a bit breezy and chilly, so let's sit in the gazebo, but we're still in the garden. So that's been a huge...
It has been,
huge bonus, to the house.
Also, around the sunset, we do get some beautiful sunsets around here. But there are different nooks and crannies around the place which we do enjoy. The row of icebergs, when they're in full bloom, are magnificent.
Yeah.
It's just on the other side of that hedge. That's one of the features of the house.
It's also important for me to have fragrance in the garden. I love fragrance. So Sue specifically placed things near windows so the whole house would always have some fragrance, whether it was roses or star jasmine or daphne. There's a lot of fragrance all the time, which is really important to us. As far as things that grow well, escallonia hedges, the roses grow well. We haven't lost a lot of plants because we tend to plant according to the weather.
Your design specification as Sue was, I don't want to be a slave to the garden.
Believe it or not, I'm not. George thinks I'm fastidious in the garden. I don't know that I am, but as George says, if the lawns are done...
And the hedges are done, the garden, it comes together.
And the other thing is, if the lawns are done, lawns, edges and hedges, people really do overlook what's going on. in the garden, because I can sometimes leave it and think, oh, I can't be bothered cutting back or remulching, and people will come here and go, you've been working very hard, and I think, oh, I haven't. That's a little bit of a hoodwink, but it looks great.
Sorry, I'm not allowed to touch the hedges,
Yeah,
and Jenny's not allowed to touch my lawn.
No, thank you. And it's a really good marriage. That's how it works.
We're both happy.
I'm James O'Keefe.
And I'm Kate Wilson.
And we're at Tremarn in Bing. Tremarn has been in our family for the last 20 to 25 years, and we've situated on a 5-acre garden with a house that was built in the early 1900s and recently renovated.
My favourite feature is the brand new retaining wall that James has built. It's just behind us. You can see it as you come in around the roundabout at the front of the house. We also have just repaired the Monet Bridge, which you can see on your right as you come in. And there's a trompe-l'oeil gates, which James's mum Kathy put in. It's a beautiful optical illusion.
And a couple of my favourite parts is of an afternoon sitting out on the front deck, looking at the sunset over the lake in front of the house is probably the best spot for a gin and tonic.
I think the biggest feature is the number of huge golden elms that we have. They're established. We've got some poplars that have been here for over 150 years, but I can't resist some flowers, so I've got lots of foxgloves and tulips and anemones, poppies, anything for colour I'll have all through the garden. We have just put in a lot of buxus as well for some year-round form, because when this is a wedding venue, we'd like the guests to have something even if they're here in the depths of a freezing cold orange winter.
Well, surrounding the house, we've got a little temple which my father installed. I think it's a temple of hydrangea.
I have no idea.
Anyway, it'll be labelled on the day once we figure out what it is. But around each corner of the garden is tucked away there. We have little statues peeking their heads out, as well as a lot of gnomes that are hidden amongst some agapanthus and the bottom of trees.
Yeah.
So everywhere you look in each corner, there is something a little bit quirky. Hard to find, but if you look really hard, you can see it pretty well.
With a bit of personality.
And surrounding the house out the front of us, we've got a pond with a fountain in it, which runs during the day. It's home to some very large goldfish, which have surprisingly survived the orange winter. So in the last couple of months, we've really taken advantage of winter and slow growth of everything to make some large changes. The first one being the roundabout at the front of the house. We used to have two very old large Photinia trees in here, but we removed those to allow a bit more sunlight and really to display the front of the house. As we see, it's a feature piece of the property. Alongside a repair of our Monet Bridge, which is I think the statement piece of our garden.
Yeah, absolutely. We've replaced it with steel so it will last forever.
And a lot of changes around the garden, so it's not quite perfect, but I think that's how we like it.
Yeah, work in progress.